evening. It is quite a time to be a CEO in the Swiss watch industry, and it has been quite a year. We've seen some extraordinary products in the past 11 months, including from the brands headed by these individuals at this table here tonight. But it has also been a year of great challenges. The continued strong Swiss franc, the soaring price of gold, a continued downturn in consumer sentiment, and of course, US tariffs. So I am joined this evening by an extraordinary panel of CEOs and leaders in the Swiss watch industry. First, to my left is Ilaria Resta, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Audemarspiguet. That is the family-owned brand that just last week won a GPHG for its new Royal Oak Perpetual Calendar, and this year is celebrating its 150th anniversary.
Thank you.
To the left of Ilaria is Karl-Friedrich Scheufele. He's the co-president of CHopard, the watch and jewelry maison that is a true family enterprise. Now, he won 2 GPHGs last week. Yes. And he just unveiled an extraordinary new Grand and Petit sonnerie that might just be CHopard's most complicated watch ever. To my right, George Kern, the CEO of Breitling, a position that he has held since 2017, where he's orchestrated a growth strategy under the brand's private equity ownership and will be launching not just 1, but 2 new brands next year. Welcome, George Kern.
Thank you.
And finally, Julien Tornare. He is the CEO of HUBLOT. He is an industry veteran. Now, HUBLOT is, of course, the wild, innovative, and sometimes controversial brand that is part of LVMH's watches division and is often in the headlines. So welcome to you all. Thank you for being here. So let's just start off with, somewhat breaking news. We had the announcement last week from the United States that the US tariffs on Swiss goods will be reduced to 15% from 39%. So is this the end of the story? Is it all back to normal now? Or is this just a little bit better situation than we've had? Ilaria, tell me, what's your take on this?
I wish I knew the future. I would be a millionaire by trading currency. But no, I think it's going back to some sanity and manageable tariff. Certainly, what I don't believe is the end of uncertainty, because it's not only the tariffs, as you pointed out, is the price of gold, is the strengthening of the Swiss franc, and of course all the uncertainty macro-political that's around us. I think is the perfect storm that we have been living for 2 years. But again, this industry has been proven resilience in much worse timing. If you look at the fundamental KPIs that measure interest in watchmaking, they are there. The younger generations are interested in watchmaking. If any, the average age of the first purchase of mechanical watches is going down. We know and we see more new target clients getting interested, like women. Yep. And we know that there are geographical white spaces that are like India and many more, where watchmaking is on the beginning of their journey of development.
Absolutely. But Mr. Scheufele, there's still a 15% tax on your products sent to the US. Did the Swiss government and the negotiators handle this situation properly? Did the industry do what it needed to do in this very difficult matter?
Well, it's a bit like the empty glass, or half full, half empty. I would say now it's probably half full. The uncertainty has been taken away to a certain extent. Now we are looking at 15%, which is more reasonable. When is it going to be put in place? That is the question. but it certainly took away one of the disturbing factors that we are looking at in the past 2 years, and it's only one. There are others, but conflicts in this world and our own currency, the Swiss franc, you mentioned it before, the gold price, which is going through the roof. But still, I think, yes, our watchmaking industry has gone through many different crises over the years. I mean, I've been with my family company for a long time.
Yes,
and I've seen quite a few of those. But this one, yeah, you could almost qualify it as the perfect storm.
Yes.
Because you always used to have regions which were really doing strong, while other regions are, suffering. But in any case, we have no choice. We have to cope with it. And yes, there are bright spots. There are younger consumers, younger collectors entering the market. There are opportunities in other countries yet to be built upon. And nevertheless, if I look at the United States this year, our business has been quite okay.
Right.
It's not been catastrophic.
George, I want to ask you, I mean, was this somewhat unexpected tariff situation, was it a wake-up call? I mean, has the industry become too dependent on that fast-growing American market? I mean, you just did a big deal with the NFL. I mean, that is as American a deal as it can get. I mean, are we a little too focused here on this market?
I mean, we had the same discussion about China. After the COVID crisis, China picked up. Then you had the real estate problems in China, and the market went down or slowed down a lot. A brand should be a plane with 5 engines. It's something I'm telling to my team. If one engine is falling down, well, at least you have 4 others. But I agree with my colleagues. Now there are 2 or 3 engines falling down. Be it in many regions, the market is not as it should be. We've talked about China. Overall, Europe is also suffering. Obviously, France. I mean, there are many countries, and I'm actually very happy that this, as Karl-Friedrich said, the glass is half full, because at least now there's an improvement in the States. But I agree, we are in a kind of perfect storm. I mean, I think this situation, in my 30 years in the industry, this has been the most complicated situation. But as I said in a previous presentation, I'm a cyclist, and you see the difference of the competitors when it's going uphill. Everybody can cycle flat, and very few people are good in the mountains, and when it's getting difficult, or Warren Buffett said, when the tide goes down, you see who's swimming naked. So
sure.
Now we will see who is performing.
But yeah, I mean, Julien, I want to ask you, I mean, George used the term crisis to talk about the current situation with all these pressure points. You've been around this industry almost as long. I mean, do you think that the Swiss watch industry is in a crisis situation at the moment?
I think it's not only the Swiss watch industry, it's basically much more wide than that. It goes to luxury and other industries. We can see it here at the moment. What I really believe is that in the past we experienced some crises that were easier to identify, say, okay, this is because of this, it's going to last that long, it's going to get better at some point. Here it's been more after 2 fantastic years post-COVID, where revenge buying and very high consumption was for all the brands. Suddenly there is a strong correction, and there's a sluggish environment, which we can feel. We mentioned 3, 4, 5 different factors that are affecting us. So we don't really feel it as easily as in the past, so we don't really know when things are going to get better. So yes, it's a challenging situation, but I really join George. I mean, right now we have to work on the fundamentals to develop desirability, and it's now that you can gain market share and that you can really work hard for your brand.
And I mean, this is uncertainty. I mean, that is the word at the moment. So how do you, I mean, and this is an industry which tends to need long lead times, a long time to design and to make product. how do you lead at a time of such uncertainty when this industry needs such a long lead time for things? What's your plan and your strategy at the moment?
I mean, first of all, I'm a believer that in certainty and in uncertainty, you need to have the same lighthouse. I don't believe all of a sudden you shift gears towards a different lighthouse. So your destination, your purpose, your mission should stay true no matter what the external conditions are. Definitely, if the storms, you need to go through a storm, you need to have the tools to navigate, but you navigate towards the right direction. And very often, I think the mistake we do in these conditions is to change direction. And this change of direction adds on to a crisis, right? You need to stay still, get there, but of course change the tools. And I think there is the need for all of us to be much more in touch with what's happening outside, the listening, the pivoting, but continue investing on what have been decided before in terms of right strategy.
Right.
Strategies are always right, and they should be crisis-proofed. Otherwise, they're not good strategy.
Yeah, and Mr. Scheufele, I mean, you have been around this industry a long time. Your company is owned by your family, and so it is a private company, and you have, the luxury, I guess, of not having to answer to shareholders every 3 months, 6 months, like some of our other friends do. Is that the ideal and proper structure for a watch company, for a watchmaker? Is that the ideal situation?
Watchmaking by definition is a long-term venture, and if you are planning to launch a new watch, a new movement, and especially maybe a complication, this may take you 5 to 10 years to develop.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very good example because, again, if you decide on a course and you decide on this development, yes, as a family company, you do have more leeway, and you can say, okay, I'm pulling this through, even if the numbers are not the right ones right now.
Right.
But because we believe in the future success of what we decided to do.
I mean, talk about how long it took you to develop the Grande and Petite Sonnerie that you released today.
Well, it was the better part of 6-7 years, and it was not that we worked on this only the whole time, but these developments take time, and as a family company, I think we have I would call it almost the luxury to decide to pull through with things that may have to be scrapped.
Exactly. Julien, I mean,
in other situations, or somebody else comes in and has to, take harsh decisions. And but then again, we still have the same obligations to our shareholders, even if we are those shareholders.
You are the shareholders, but
we also want to have numbers which are, as they should.
Absolutely. But, Julien and George here have different shareholding structures. They are different kinds of companies. Can you take 7 or 8 years to design a watch and put in those hours when you have to tell LVMH how you've done every 3 months?
First of all, there are two things. I think we need to have a long-term strategy, a vision, a strategy, and we need to keep the line. You're right. We shouldn't change and all the time for everything because clients would not see themselves in that particular brand if you change direction all the time. So that would be wrong for me. We are in a long-term type of business. However, in today's world, I think we need to be even more agile and flexible and take opportunities when they're coming. And I always tell my team, go for the long term, but be ready to make some tactical move here and there because this is how you capture also some new opportunities. And this is a time of catching new opportunities. Yes, we have to report to shareholders, you're right, but I'm lucky to work for a brand and group that is a lot about long-term, is all about building a brand for the long-term. Hublot is only 45 years old, so it's a very young brand among all those brands, and I think my responsibility is really to prepare Hublot for the next decade. So yes, we have to deliver, but they understand that we go through a challenging time and we need to do it for the long term. So the discussion is quite clear. Yeah.
And George, let's just talk about your unique sort of model here, private equity. You're this great sort of public experiment that we're all watching in how private equity does as an owner of a Swiss watch brand. It's been going on for a while now, and you've been growing, obviously. But talk about the different structures and reporting and pressures that one has as owned by a private equity structure. Obviously, there at the end of the road, there's some kind of liquidity event for the owners, whether it's selling that stake to someone else or taking it public.
The essence of private equity is that management is shareholder. I'm shareholder. We had a liquidity event with CVC. We then sold it to, or the majority to Partners Group, and now we have obviously to work on further growing the business. Not only on Breitling with more maturity, but also with the launch of Gallet and Universal Genève next year, because we have the capacity to do so. So in private equity, we're all sitting in the same boat. This is why they want us to have skin in the game. And I have a great shareholder with Partners Group, and it works very well. And I haven't regret a second that I left the big group to be in private equity. Trust me on that.
Indeed. And one of the members of the Partners Group was, of course, part of that delegation that included the Rolex CEO, Mr. Dufour, as well as Mr. Rupert from the group, Richemont, who went to see the president. I mean, do you think that that's the way, was that the most important factor in getting change, do you think, in the U.S. tariff situation, George?
It worked. The reality of Switzerland is that politically it's a very weak country, and military it's a very weak country, but economically it's a huge country. It is the sixth biggest investor in the United States, and these business people have access to Trump and his entourage, which are not standard politicians. Actually, they're business people, and they know them. They have access, and it's quite striking that business people have access to the White House and not our president. But at the end of the day, who cares? What is important is the result. And if it was made to make some progress, congratulations. Let's not forget that in our industry, we employ 65,000 people in the watch industry. It will help. We cannot afford to listen to ideology. We cannot do this, or no, Mr. Trump is not nice. No, we have to stand for the industry and not to lose workforce, and to give them work and to export to one of the biggest countries in the world. So well done to all of these people who were in the White House.
Yeah, I mean, that sort of brings us to what Jean-Frédéric Dufour, the CEO of Rolex, was saying today in his earlier panel with Wei Ko. And I mean, he talked about that, having that real communication with the client, a real relationship with the customer. And, he warned that if we don't, we're destined to end up like the auto industry, and there's no more car shows, and that people don't have the same relationships with brands anymore. What are we doing to foster those kind of one-on-one, real deep personal relationships with clients and customers? Somebody answer this one.
Well,
give me some examples of what you're doing.
I think it's essential today, more than ever, to be close to your customer and to listen to your customer.
How do you do that? how do you know who your customer is, and how do you
Well,
listen to
we are lucky enough to have quite a number of own boutiques, and through that channel we can very much create relationships, and sometimes very close relationships. Of course, systems like CRM and so on are very important, but today it's much easier to communicate with clients than it was ever before. Whether
Because
your brand is distributed through wholesale channels or retail channels, but it is very important to be close to your clients. That's the key. And the reason why this intervention at the White House worked, because it was a personal intervention, and it was at the right level with the right group of people, and it created a response.
Yeah.
And
Well,
voila.
we like you, we have lots of a significant part of our retail that helps us being in touch with the clients, but this is not enough. You need to create moments and platform where you meet the clients in a relevant and authentic moments. I give you the example of an experiment that we have done in Japan, where we created the AP Lab. The AP Lab was really a space, non-commercial, where we do not sell watches, but it's a space where we share the history in a way of watchmaking. We do interactive sessions with, and I don't even call them clients, because these people
Right.
are people interested in somehow in watchmaking, or they've never even seen a watch. And the idea is by getting these people in and listening to their question and curiosity, in a way you get closer to your potential prospect clients, and not only clients, people who might come and work for this industry, because
Right.
let's not forget that we cater for people who buy, but also for people who will want to work for us. And we use platform of passions like the music, the art, where a conversation starts and you don't ask simply the question, what watch do you want, which dial color you like, but rather, how do you live your life, how is a watch fitting into your life, and then you go much deeper in the understanding of clients.
Let me ask you this, Ilaria. I mean, you've been in this role for 2 years now. You come from the consumer goods sector. I mean, you spent most of your career at Procter & Gamble. Do you think that Procter & Gamble knew its, had ways and knew its customers better, though, than, not just AP, but the watch industry in general? I mean, talk about that and just how different the watch industry is, as an outsider who's come in here now.
We're talking a different scale of knowledge and a different way of knowing, because in P&G we're talking fast-moving consumer goods. The numbers of clients I was catering was in excess of 50, 100 millions,
Yes,
right? So
it's huge.
what type of knowledge do you have? You have the statistically significant knowledge to say an algorithm of preferences and love, but you don't go deep. You don't go at personal level. And that's the big difference with watchmaking, where the relationship becomes personal, hence is a relationship based not on the functional benefit of products like in the fast-moving consumer goods, but on the emotion. And we keep on repeating, we are in a business of emotion, where the hands of the watchmaker, the craft, lands ultimately on the wrists of the client. And that is such a powerful and immaterial product that honestly makes our relationship with client truly a personal and intimate relationship that I never had, of course, before with the millions of people buying detergents.
Of course, of course.
Sure.
And Julien?
No, for sure. And I mean, we have so much passion for what we do and our watches around this table, but probably in this room and in the show. We forget sometimes that we sell beautiful watches that are basically luxury. And luxury, by definition, is not something you need. It's something you appreciate, and that is going to give you a great emotion, a special feeling. So you have to, and all the brands are talking about experience, but what is actually an experience for clients? I think, first of all, is to get in touch and listen to them. Of course, we have our partnership, so we invite them to come to XYZ event, and they can have a special moment thanks to any of our brand here. But more than that, when I joined the company, I put 2 rules immediately in place. The first one was every single decision, we have to think with the client's perspective. Because we often in headquarters, we think about ourselves, what we like, what we don't like, what we want to do, and not always client-oriented. So this is the first one. And then when we travel, and I used to go, we meet landlords. When we want a boutique somewhere, we meet, of course, our retailers, the press. Sometimes we forget end clients. And for me, I like to break all the intermediate levels to get directly in touch with end clients. So every trip, I want to meet end clients of the destination I'm going. And I think that's definitely helping to not only get in touch, but also for us, it's a big learning because we understand better what they want and what they like. So that's, for me, a top priority if we want to move on positively, yeah.
How do you get to know your clients, George? And then how do you get to know who the clients you want to be for your two upcoming brands, Universal Genève and Gallet, these are all going to be kind of different clients?
Absolutely, but the luxury industry is very much different from the fast-moving consumer goods. And when I was very young, I was at that time was called craft, so I was selling chocolate powder, Toblerone, and stuff like that. I learned a lot, by the way. It's a great school. I can only advise everybody to go into this type of industry. But in the fast-moving consumer goods, you respond to a need. In the luxury, you create a need. It's very different. And I like the example of the car industry. Okay, we have the super knowledgeable Karl-Friedrich Scheufele here who knows, vintage cars. But if you look at the car industry, it becomes more and more a commodity. Today, it's about reach of your electric car, and all the cars look the same. You lose emotions on the engine, on the smell, on basically everything. Opening and the noise, looking at the engine, it's all gone. It's very different in the watch industry. We are so lucky in a way because nobody's buying an analog watch to read time. Nobody.
Right.
Whilst you buy a car to go from point A to point B. So it's very different. And this is why what Ilaria said is it's all about emotions. You need, the watch industry is an occasion industry. You buy it because you get married or you made a deal. We all remember the first watch we got in a way or we got offered. I mean, nobody's collecting digital watches and remembers the discussions we all had a couple of years ago when Apple came into the market and said, people were panicking. No, not at all.
So would we all agree that the Apple Watch has been a good thing for the Swiss watch industry, or at least in terms of perhaps introducing a new generation to the idea of wearing something on the wrist? I mean,
I think
what
it's
do we
way
think?
different.
It's
I think
another
it's
thing.
not a plus or minus.
It's another thing.
Yeah,
It serves
not a
another
comparable.
purpose. The job to be done is completely different from what we are doing.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it paves the way for more mechanical watches to be worn.
No.
That's what I thought at one point, but I'm not sure now. I see many people wearing both,
Yes.
and most of them for medical reasons or whatever. But no, really, we are totally different in the fact that we are not only selling emotion, we are also it's craftsmanship, it's tradition, it's history. The list is long, and the most important thing is to widen the audience today over and above those who are already watch collectors, or because there are, I think, many people who don't realize yet that they could actually be very happy with a watch. They never considered it,
Right. Well, I mean, that's finding a new consumer and bringing a new consumer to a product that's new for them. I think, your brand is 150 years old. Your brand is over a century old. Your brand, 141. Julian is the baby.
Only 45.
Only
A
45.
teenager.
You look so young.
Oh, thank you, George. Thank you.
But how do you make Swiss watches new and exciting? Is it only innovation, or is it something else? And how do brands and companies with such heritage and such baggage that comes with that heritage, how do you be modern and nimble and cool? Anybody want to take that one?
Well, let me tell you, my philosophy for newness is I take it with a pinch of salt, right? Because if you look at what's happening now in the market, the new generations to whom we should cater newness, in reality, guess what? They enter the door of watchmaking through vintage. So actually they are looking, and we see more and more interest. So is it really newness, or is it rather authenticity and meaningful products that have a story behind? And that's what I believe is the real driver. And in fact, we see more and more interest in pieces that have a story, certain display of the hour. For instance, when we relaunched recently one of the Wandering Hours movement with the Star Wheel, that was a wonderful initiative because it dates back multiple years. It was born for a purpose, to let the Pope read the time in the middle of the night. And that story is a story that sticks with people. So I'm very reluctant when we talk innovation, because innovation is such a broad term, but in reality we should differentiate between the newness for the sake of newness and create a stunt from an innovation that is truly paving the way to a change in the relationship with the watch. Like, but again, the perpetual calendar that the team did, Audemarspiguet, wonderful team, to change the way the setting is done so easily that you can wear a watch. That is real innovation, is meaningful.
Right.
The rest is newness.
Indeed. I mean, Julien, do you have, considering the age of your brand, do you have more freedom to be bolder, to do different things, to make Hublot something, that it truly wasn't yesterday? Or are you weighed down by that heritage as well?
No, I think it's obviously only 45 years old. We have less of a heritage, and where I started and the type of brands I worked, usually I was much younger than the brands. Now I'm older than the brand. And so it gives a great...
So said you were 250 years
Exactly. So I rejuvenated over the years. No, but with Hublot, it's a great playground. But it's not only that, obviously, because last week, 2 weeks ago, I got to meet Mr. Croco, Carlo Croco, the founder.
Yes.
Created the brand in 1980, and it was a great learning, and I immersed myself into the past and how he came with that brand back in the days. So we have a history, we can work and capitalize on that. I would say for us, it's more about the DNA of the brand. Because back in the 80s, mixing gold, which is the precious metal, with rubber, which was very cheap material considered back in the days, was so innovative and disruptive. So it's in Hublot's DNA, and I could rebound on, of course, Jean-Claude Biver, the Big Bang, and all the new material. So it's part of the brand. So we have to continue to bring new things to this industry. It's our mission. We are kind of we're called often the enfant terrible, the terrible kids of the industry, and I think we have to continue to do that. So yes, the age, yes, but it's also about our DNA and where we come from.
We're talking about selling watches, and watches generally get sold at retail in one way or the other. You all have various different models for the way that you sell your watches. Obviously, AP, Ilaria, has been really bringing things direct to consumer with their own boutiques. George, you're a bit of a different mix, and Julien, you as well. CHopard, you certainly have your own boutiques. But where is the pendulum swinging at the moment? I mean, it seems like everything's been going to brand-owned boutiques, but I get the sense that things might be changing. Ilaria, will we see anything, anything different on the retail side for AP? And is that the way that the industry has to go? Does it have to find new ways to do retail?
Now, for AP, you will not see a change of strategy in terms of the right mix that we found today, which is the direct retail, and in certain specific cases, like in this region, we have very strong partnership with a family like Hodinkee that definitely brings a lot to AP, and that's a model that has proven successful to the point that we were talking earlier. Is a way for us to get closer to clients, to understand better the dynamics, and to experiment also on the formats, like the format of the AP Lab or the AP House, or the new formats where we are doing now master classes in our venues, which is a way, if you want, to interact with the clients and again, we interact also with people that might be interested in working for this industry. Because let's not forget, all we do, we cater to buyers, but we cater to workers as well. And this is an industry that needs to be nourished to ensure that we will have forever people who are interested to come and work for us. So model stays the same, and of course we will keep rejuvenating and meeting the client's need.
Karl-Friedrich, are you rethinking the way you do retail at all, or will you continue down the path that CHopard is on there?
Well, we've set a path, strategy which definitely favors retail over wholesale, but I would not rule out wholesale altogether, because in certain instances clients do like to compare. They like to compare one chronograph to another, or one watch to another brand, but the challenge is really oftentimes the quality of the points of sale that we work with, and there again the knowledge about that partners bring to the table about the brand, and also sometimes the number of brands they represent, which doesn't make life easier. So the tendency for us is more retail, less wholesale, but not
I mean, you know,
no wholesale altogether.
I think we've all had a retail experience where we go to a boutique, and perhaps, you know, because we're all around the industry all the time, and so we understand what's going on, and we're dealing with someone who perhaps doesn't. How do we make, and Mr. Dufour talked about this earlier as well today, how do we make watchmaking cool and something that more people want to know about and want to discover and want to be experts in, and you know, really enjoy working in retail and teaching more people about these products? I mean, you know, how do we make that happen? Who up for anyone?
So, first of all, we know from studies that consumers, also as a young generation, also in new countries, want to have the physical experience in a boutique. So the concept, in particular of e-commerce, etc., in the luxury industry has been over evaluated, if you want, for many years. And indeed, in a boutique, you can emerge into the brand. You know about the products. You have the whole collection, and consumers want that buying experience if it's of quality. Then we were talking about innovation. I mean, an hour has 60 minutes, a minute has 60 seconds. Nothing will change. It's the same thing in fashion, right? You work with silk, you work with cotton. It is what it is. But you can regenerate. Innovation comes not from all the time technical, niche type of products. Well, you need to be up to date in the taste, in the execution of your products and of your brand, because people are buying brands in all the sectors. You're a Mercedes guy, you're a BMW guy, you buy, you're Armani girl, you're a Versace girl, you buy brands, then you buy the product, and you have to make sure that your brand is attractive, is desirable, and that's if there were rules, everybody would be successful, right? Thank God there are no rules.
But I mean, this is the big question. I mean, brands. If people are buying brands, how do you protect a brand, nurture a brand, develop it? At the same time, how do you keep it from getting stale and out of fashion? I mean, Julien, you're kind of, I think it's fair to say you're sort of not doing a rebranding, but you're rebirthing or rethinking about Hublot and the Hublot brand. And the Hublot brand means a lot of things to a lot of different people.
True, absolutely.
How do you do that? How do you, move forward and reinvent it, at the same time protect that heritage?
So just coming back quickly to the experience, because I think it's very important to say that we don't sell fast consumer goods, and we need to have new clients because you don't buy watches all the time. We have collectors that are buying a lot, but many clients are newcomers, first-timers, and for that, it's very important to have a good balance, in my opinion, between your own boutiques, where you offer a brand experience, but in which people are paid to tell the clients that this is the best brand in the world. When you go to a multi-brand, you want to have this kind of watchmaking experience where you're going to be shown different watches. There will be comparison. We can have all our watches on the tray, and one day it's going to be you, another day it's going to be you, and that's the kind of experience we need also for newcomers in the industry. As far as Hublot is concerned, it's clear that we need to make sure that, again, our clients are really experiencing, in the wide meaning, something different with the brand. Understanding where we come from, understanding who we are, understanding that if you buy a Hublot, you're not going to see maybe 20 people in the plane wearing the same watch. Yes, we are different. And is that what you want? That's where salespeople have to be great at understanding what people are interested into. If they want to talk about movements, we're going to explain our Unico chronograph, our Mecha 10. If they want to talk about celebrities and more glamorous things, we're going to go there. But you have to create this bond and generate this emotion in order to have the people getting to purchase the watch, to be part of the family, to be part of the brand. And I think for each of the brand is the same. When you enter a luxury boutique, I think we have great sensitivity for that. You feel immediately if you are listened to, if you feel something by being in the shop, or if you just want to leave as fast as you can and as politely as you can.
Absolutely. Let's talk a bit about leadership, being CEOs. You've all been leaders for quite a long time. Karl-Friedrich, I want to ask you, I mean, what's the best piece of leadership advice you've ever been given or how to lead, and how then, considering the structure of your company, how do you make sure you're being kept in check and someone's telling you that that maybe this isn't a great idea, or maybe you should think about this, or how do you where do you get advice, and how do you?
That's a lot of questions at once.
Just two, really. But yeah.
Well, I think one important advice that I was given is to listen before I speak, and listening to your colleagues, listening to your team is important. Of course, there's a time when you have to take a decision, but I think it's important to consider what the team thinks. So it's a teamwork.
Yeah.
And
but yeah, listening is an underrated skill, isn't it?
Listening is an underrated skill, but I think it's quite important, and not to be, always to be remembered. That's same. Now, when it comes to responsibilities within a company, we are as a family company, we operate in a very special way, because we're not only board members who have taken, I would say, a bit of a back seat and checking how the company is being run, but we are actually on both sides.
You have an interest in things, absolutely.
Yes, but we have an interest, of course, as shareholders, but we have an interest also on a day-to-day basis. And we have practiced this for 30 years now, together with my sister, who is right there. And we're truly an exception, I think, in that respect. And we share an office for the past 35 years or so.
Yes.
Although we are never, most of the time, not in the same office because we travel. But when we are, it's a wonderful way to work. And we can check on each other.
Yes.
But joke apart, my sister is working on the jewelry side of things, the high jewelry, and and I'm obviously more involved in the watchmaking side, other than the joint responsibilities that we have. So we can coach each other, criticize each other openly, which we do, and I think it's very important to communicate.
For sure.
In any company. When communication is not right, then you have a problem.
Yeah. Ilaria, what's the best piece of leadership or management advice you've ever been given?
Well, I was given the same as yours, but I had also another one, which is, as a leader, is a difficult job, the job of a leader, a CEO, because you are extremely lonely, and with the filter, the truth that gets to you through the ranks of an organization, right? So you get information in a difficult way, and that's why I'm a big believer on what I call circular leadership, which is a model where the leader gets out of the top of the pyramid and tries to position himself at the center of a circle, which means equally distant from all the functions on the market reality. It's all about getting the reality in, and be clear. For me, the biggest advice I got is, are you sure you understood your mission?
Right.
What are you here to solve for? And when you work for a publicly company compared to a private company, the missions are completely different. The public company are relatively easy because there are so many financial metrics that are undeniable, guiding the choice of a CEO. Is the profit, the top line, the bottom line, the cash, and few other measures. But when you represent the family that carries still the name of the company, and when the desire is to keep this company independent and family-owned for the next 300 and more years, then all of a sudden you have a time horizon and KPIs that are not necessarily the same you're used to. So the key best advice has been, make sure you understand the mission you are here to serve. Because sometimes you start and you assume the mission is clear, but in reality you're addressing a different mission.
Indeed, indeed. And George, I see you on Instagram all the time. You're all over the world.
Check it so often.
You're right. You are right. You're all over the place all the time, visiting partners and retailers and Breitling employees. What's the one piece of gear, whether it be a piece of tech or, I don't know, luggage, something? What's the one piece of gear that you can't do your job without? And it can't be a watch, obviously.
It's my team, I guess.
Your team is gear?
No, not in terms of gear, but I cannot live without my team. And this was the biggest challenge when we took over Breitling, is to move that company, which was a family-owned company with an ex-factory type of business model, into a growth company. You totally change the culture of a company, and you need other people. You need people who have that experience and have that understanding. And I have a marvelous team. They're also shareholders, which also changes the culture of company. So we are not, we don't, in private equity, unlike in a big group where you get stock options, in private equity, money goes from your account to somebody else's account. And if it works out well, you get the money back. But these are not stock options, so you really have skin in the game. And I saw that during COVID, the sense of responsibility of all the colleagues. And without them, we wouldn't be able to launch now within the same structure, with the same infrastructure, 2 new brands, which is a lot of work. Launching Gallet and Universal Genève, which are positioned in a totally different way, is an incredible, intense amount of work. And I'm very happy and proud about the colleagues I'm working with.
Basically what you're talking about there is, obviously you've brought on, more people, but not you're not adding the same number of people that Breitling already had for these brands. I mean, everyone's being asked to do more with less in a way. How do you what's the best way to motivate your employees to do more work and great work?
I think it's our role also to inspire people, to show them the way, to show them where we want to go, to show them that we believe in what we want to do in our strategy. And this is extremely important because you have to remain positive, even if the tougher times, you cannot share all your worries. You mentioned being lonely. That's totally true. Sometimes you're concerned, you have doubts. You have to have doubts. In my opinion, it's part of the energy that we all need to have, but you cannot share all of them. You cannot share all your concerns and your worries with your teams. You need to absorb some of them and show the way and remain very positive. Many people talk about chief happiness officers. We don't have one. We all have to be, and I'm the first one to be. I have to bring, even if the tougher times, the best type of energy. And you can be tough, you can be demanding. But George, for some period of time, he was my boss, and I can tell you.
Now you admit it.
I can tell you, he can be very tough and very demanding, but he's inspiring. And I'm not saying that you're not going to give me any bonus, so I don't need to tell you for that. But it's true, and you want to follow these kind of people. So I think it's a job of a CEO to show the way and to keep the direction and to motivate the people.
That's inspiring, and that's not an easy thing to do.
No.
To be inspiring, I think. So, what is the most looking forward? I mean, we're almost done this year, and I think some of us will be happy to see this year behind us. Looking forward, what is the most important objective, do you think, both for your individual brands, but for the Swiss watch industry, should be in 2026? And how are you going to get your folks and your team to get there? Ilaria?
Let's maybe go to industry first, right? Because I think what we forgot is that in the last years we've seen a cycle of explosion, of excitement from clients to buy, and now is the decline, and very soon this decline will be over, and hopefully we will be growing again. And I wish we all remember that there is a muscle memory of what has happened in these years as industry, because in reality we are at this table, there are people that are not at this table who are our suppliers that have been living a bit of a different story than ours, right? Because they've been following
some of your suppliers, or at least took a majority stake.
Yes, correct. And what we have seen has been amplified massively for them because they didn't have any visibility of what was happening. They just saw the orders going up, the orders going down from one day to the other. And then we navigate this crisis out. I'm 100% confident about it. It will take maybe 2 years, we'll see. But if we re-go back to an irresponsible growth and we do not align an ecosystem, a supply chain, truly end-to-end with suppliers, I think, guys, we will see this coming back again. And if there are casualties on their side, there are casualties on the industry. So for me, this is the key watch out for all of us, because we talk brands, but we're not talking of the broader ecosystem.
Karl-Friedrich, what's your big objective, and how are you going to get your team to get there?
Well, I perfectly agree with the industry view. We own a dial factory, and we know firsthand, what they're going through right now, and the ups and downs, and we have to make sure as brands. Because even though we are manufacturer and we produce, we have a high vertical integration, we're still dependent on suppliers. And if that supply chain breaks at one point because these companies no longer can back up on their feet or facing difficulties and disappear, the entire industry is at stake in a way. Yep. And the other big issue for us, I think, is craftsmanship. We have to make sure that we continue to transmit the knowledge craftsmanship, teach young people, motivate young people to join the industry. We have in our group, we have about 50 apprentices, and this is essential in my eyes if we want to keep this industry in Switzerland, certainly, and that's really our responsibility. It's everyone has a responsibility in there, and these are two main issues for the industry, and then obviously we will do our best to motivate our troops for next year, as we do always, and I'm confident that next year may be a little bit brighter than what we have seen the last 2 years.
Do we all feel that you know that things have turned, at least in terms of the prospects, or is there still so much uncertainty with some big markets that we think that we're still in for a tough go?
I'm very confident overall on the watch industry because there are more. You know, we have this view of Europe or United States, but let's not forget all the emerging markets, these incredible populations in India, in Malaysia, Indonesia, etc. And you have more and more people having access to these price points. The second point is we respond with analog watches in a way, in a nice way, to the over-digitalization of our society. I think people, and you mentioned that more and more young people, now that the secondary market is structured with CPOs, etc., have and come into our industry. So you have more wealth in the world, you have a kind of counter-reaction towards the digitalization, you have the CPO process, and therefore I'm confident for the industry, especially that, again, it's not a tool anymore to read time. It's really an object of emotions, of pleasure, and we are Epicureans. Humankind, we like to enjoy life, to go to a restaurant, etc. And jewelry, art, watches, craftsmanship do respond to that very human, I would say, attitude, and because we're not robots, and therefore I'm still super confident for this industry.
Absolutely. You brought it up, you know, jewelry. Obviously, we've seen the jewelry industry do a little better than the watch industry in some ways. Just to answer this question once and for all, yes or no? Watches or jewelry, yes or no?
Yes, jewelry is doing a bit better at the moment.
But watches are jewelry. Watches are. Is a watch a piece of jewelry nowadays? Now that it's no longer a tool, nobody tells the time with a piece of watch. Are watches jewelry?
Yeah, in the broad meaning, yes. It's something
George?
you dress.
Yes, of course, in particular for men.
Yeah.
It's the only piece of
Absolutely.
jewelry we wear.
Ilaria?
It's a bit of oversimplification. There is a component of decoration, if you want to call it jewelry. There are the savoir-faire typical of jewelry, but it's also a piece of art, it's a memory, it's an emotion. So yes, it's broader than that.
Karl-Friedrich?
I think it's more an adornment than an object that tells time, for sure. And it just makes a statement about whoever wears it. And that's true for jewelry, and that's true for watches.
Excellent. Well, I think we've run out of time. Thank you for a spirited and interesting discussion from some of the top leaders in the Swiss watch industry. We really appreciate it. And thank you to Dubai Watch Week for holding the first ever CEO Roundtable. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for moderating.
Thank you.
Thank you.